Hey, good afternoon. 12 noon, East Coast time. Carm Capriato, the 185th week in a row, Town Hall Academy. Where would you rather be than right here, right now? The Automotive Aftermarket's original weekly single subject forum. We are going to talk about apprentices today. Yes, apprentices. But first, look at it's so important that you give us a like if you're on Facebook, that you make a comment, and I'd even love to know and spread the word here what city you're in, and give us a share. Now, why is all this necessary? Well, it's necessary because Facebook constantly changes their algorithms. I don't know if you know that. And that's the rumor. The rumor is that when you do this kind of stuff in Facebook says, "Oh, they may like this guy. Well, we'll show it to more people." Because just because you may follow me on Facebook doesn't mean that you're going to see everything I post. And I know that may hurt some egos of a lot of people out there, but if you don't get any action on a post, no one sees it, which is why I've asked you to like, share, comment, and tell us what city you're in. By the way, we can see all that stuff inside. Good afternoon, everybody, from Robert Kennedy Jr. So there's one person out there. Wonderful. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. I've got a great panel. Oh, by the way, I think you're going to be dazzled by what my panel is going to talk about, because they're been there, done that. A couple of great sponsors that make this show possible, from Shop Marketing Pros as an example. Is your marketing company sharing the same vanilla social media posts for you that they do for every other shop? Well, that's not how Shop Marketing Pros does it. They believe each shop is unique with its own story. So contact them today on the web at shopmarketingpros.com. And Shopware, well, they want to remind you to stop spending time chasing your customers. Shopware's leading shop management system is helping shops like yours generate more profit per ticket with less time on the phone. Break away from your legacy system and implement a completely contactless workflow today. Get started at getshopware.com. So I've wanted to talk about apprentices for a long time, and I will tell you this. I have the perfect panel to talk about apprentices, because we have an absolute, this is a rock'em sock'em episode. If you care about the future of our industry, if you care about growing your own tech, if you care that we're going to survive with the young men and women that are going to be able to keep our transportation needs on the road for many, many years to come, apprenticing is going to be an important part of what you do inside your business. With me is Pete McNeil, shop owner of McNeil's Auto Care, the NAPA 2020 Shop Owner of the Year. Good to see you, Pete.
Hey, thanks, Carm. Happy to be here.
Thank you. 2 locations, Sandy, Utah. And the thing I love about what I know about you is you expanded your Sandy location to 16 bays so you can use some of them for education.
That's correct. Yeah, we actually added 4 bays 2.5, 3 years ago, just so we could accommodate this training platform. And it's what allowed us to open location number 2, which is in Riverton, Utah.
How cool is that? Well, good for you. Shop Owner of the Year 2020. I remember giving you your award this year.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I loved it. It's obviously been a challenging year, but hey, anytime you can get some accolades and feel like you're at least on the right path and doing the right things, we feel very honored. So thank you. And Jake, which is my counterpart, he's one of the big reasons that we received that award. So thank you.
Thank you again. Jake is here. Jake's in the house, technician he is shop manager and lead. Can I say lead diagnostician, Jake?
Yeah, sure.
Will you accept that?
Yeah.
I like to say that a lot. He was the 2019 ASE NAPA Technician of the Year. Wow. Congrats. I can't imagine how many people, applied for that. He's an ASE Master Technician with an L1, L2, L3 advanced certifications, and a pretty big architect of this program, I know. So the reason that Pete and Jake are here is that NAPA looked over their shoulders and said, hey, we need this. So they created their own apprentice program, got it approved from the state of Utah, which is why Alexia Murphy is here. She is, let me get this here, Alexia, Program Specialist, Department of Workforce Services in the state of Utah.
That's right. Thank you.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. Well, so glad you're here because apprentice programs need a little structure, Department of Labor and all that stuff, and we're going to learn all about that. And that's why Alexia is here. Hey, look at Pete. Let's just jump into this thing. I know you're passionate about the sustainability of our workforce.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Carm, the reason the program evolved was out of need. We had struggled trying to find technicians, like I think every shop in the United States has for the last 5 to 10 years. And Jake and I finally had hit a point where we decided, with all the technology that's evolving and the lack of applicants out there, we need to do something on our own. And you've heard some of the statistics, but we know the U.S. Bureau of Labor said by 2026 we're going to need 46,000 more technicians. So not only with the growth that the industry is going to have, we have less people coming into the trade. We know that 50% are retiring in the next 4 to 5 years. And from what we're hearing, the amount coming into the trade is only around 10 to 20%. So we're going to be in a world of hurt. And Jake and I really kind of sat down and I threw some ideas, and Jake nodded his head the wrong way and said, I'm not sure this is going to work, And I said, well, we don't have a choice. And, the challenge a shop owner has is you're asking your lead technician that is generating revenue and making you money to now take time away to teach someone, and not knowing what those costs were going to be, not knowing how that was going to play out. There were a lot of unknowns. I think there were a lot of landmines we were extremely scared to step on, and but you don't know unless you try. And we really felt like we were kind of at a point that we had to do it. And from our experience, there really was no roadmap. I think that's what Jake and I, ended up concluding as we really got entrenched in this is, even though we had a lot of people coming into our operation, if somebody really wanted to evolve down this pathway, there wasn't a roadmap. There wasn't a roadmap for us. There wasn't one out there in the high schools and maybe what the state has access to. So again, it's definitely, we learned a lot, but I think as we talk through this and really experience what we went through, the exciting part is the end result has been just short of fantastic. And we wouldn't be where we are today, no question, had we not gone down this path.
Thanks, Pete. My friend Dwayne Myers is with us. He says, what a great topic. And he says that kind of tongue in cheek because he's got an approved apprentice program in the state of Maryland. So this is not like Pete has anything new, but
Right.
what this is about is the commitment that needs to take place. Jake, who benefits from apprentice programs more than shop owners?
Well, I think that's a really good question because I hear it all the time when you talk to shop owners about the need for this. They instantly ask, well, how much is it going to cost me? What if I put the time into training somebody and the investment and they leave? And I really turn that question around on them and say, well, you're going to benefit more than anybody is here. What's the cost of not having a technician when you need them? How much work are you turning away and not able to generate that revenue because you don't have a technician capable of doing that work? So I think that far outweighs the cost of training somebody. And then, really the second question, what if I train them and they leave? We've all heard the saying, what if you don't and they stay? But more importantly, if everybody in our industry, if all shop owners just sit back and say, well, I'm not going to invest in that, I'm not going to spend the time or resources, we're not going to have anybody coming into this. There's not a lot of other options out there for people that want to become a technician to do it. And so we need shop owners to step up and really start to get active and help train these technicians. And keep in mind, if you do train somebody and they leave, let's say that things don't work out, well, hopefully they're going to end up at another shop, and now that shop's not looking for a technician, and maybe that frees somebody up for you.
I just drew a blank. Don't ask me why, because I'm so intrigued in this topic. If you have technicians in the shop, Jake, Pete, you guys would both know the answer to this, and you go to them and say, hey, listen, I'd love you to work with our new apprentice. Will some of them be honored? Will some of them say, I don't think I'm a really good teacher? How do you work that out?
It's definitely a mixed bag. There's some guys just have zero interest in it. Others, jump at the opportunity. The real hurdle, though, is making sure that you come up with a plan where it's mutually beneficial for the technician that's training and for the apprentice to learn, right? That they're learning things the right way from somebody that is going to teach them the proper practices and everything. So it's a conversation that has to be had beforehand, right? You've really got to think through all the different scenarios and make sure that you're finding the right match there. And then it's got to be looked at. We tried a different mentor here for a little bit, and after a couple of months, we realized, things were progressing, but not at the rate that we wanted. And it was turning into more of an errand boy, right? This apprentice was just kind of running errands for him. And that's not the plan that we want. That's not how we want to continue with this. So we had to make a change there. And so it's really got to be monitored.
You hear that story often when a 2-year grad from an automotive technology program at college goes to work for a dealer, and then he's gone after 2 years because he was just never brought in to put him on the lube rack for 2 years, and if he makes it there, then maybe, and then he's fighting for flat rate hours. So you're right, you have to be so careful with that. Thanks for that, Jake. Alexia, you're here because of the connection to the Department of Labor. And again, I don't know anything about how the approval process works. And, although I know that McNeil's pays that student, but is there any money to get from the state to help make this a reality?
Yeah, and it's different in all states, but the great thing with these registered programs is Department of Labor really is making an investment in apprenticeship right now. And so most states do have grants that employers can access, their apprentices can access to help pay for the cost, both of if there's a tuition cost for the apprentice, or if a lot of states have what we call on-the-job training funds that they can send to the employer to help reimburse them for some of the wages of that apprentice, which is great when you're pulling your skilled technicians away to help train these people to become your producers.
So interesting. Pete, can you kind of clarify some of that? Are you guys, is your apprentice tapping into funds? Are you tapping into funds? How you structuring this?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Carmen. One thing I wanted to bring up, I think the interesting thing about the apprentice program, my father was one of the first factory trained German technicians from 35 years ago. And oddly enough, when we started this program, one of the things he mentioned is he said, hey, when I was a technician and had been, at my location for 10 years, 12 years, getting an apprentice was exciting because not only were you sharing your knowledge, but it helped you with efficiencies and allowed you to produce more. So I just wanted to throw that out there because it's not new. It's been out there a long, long time, but it's been forgotten. And I think what we need to reinvigorate is there's a lot of good that goes with it.
And before you answer the question, how many other skilled trades have apprentice programs? I know some friends that say, I want to go be an electrician, and they're going to put me in an apprentice program. I want to go be a steam fitter or a boiler person. Those industries bring them in and teach them.
No question. We're starting to hear more, Alexia. I know you're hearing it here, at least in Utah. I'm even hearing ads being ran by HVAC companies and plumbers. Yeah. And now they've gone down the path because they realize this is the path. This is the way we're going to cultivate people the right way. And I think that's exciting to hear. And going back to your question, Carm, what have we tapped into? I can tell you early on in the program, as we worked with the school district, we worked with Mark Matea, which was with the adult education program here locally. He was very instrumental in connecting the dots for us with Alexia and the people that we needed to assemble this program. And there was some participation up front. They helped us go to conferences that the state paid for to help us understand how these programs were assembled. We went to the COAB conference in New Orleans. And there was some help and participation early on. And I think state by state, and as you navigate through this, the key is ask a lot of questions. We felt like we were a little bit in a fast speed mode because we had more business than we could keep up with, and we needed help. And we knew this wasn't going to be something that was going to be done in 5 or 6 months. We knew it was going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And even though we've graduated 3 and our 4th is coming up here in the next 4 or 5 months, we're still learning. We're still trying to refine and do things, but it's good.
I love it. He says he's continuing to learn. Keith Katz trained 2 apprentices. It didn't work out. More or less my fault. The third one seems to be working out well. Learned my lessons on how to train them. Any lessons yet, Jake?
Yeah, we've had a lot of success, but there's been a few that haven't worked out, and for different reasons. But there is a lot to be learned while you're doing this, and I think the biggest thing that we've found with the ones that didn't work, what we could have done more was better communication, right? A lot of times we waited until it was too late to fix whatever the problems were. And had we communicated early on and really found out what their struggles were, what they needed help with, we probably could have made it work out with them, and gotten the results we wanted. So I'd say communication is the biggest thing on this. We do bi-weekly meetings with our apprentices. I mean, obviously we're hands-on in the bay next to them every day, but every other week we have a sit-down one-on-one, ask what is going on, where they're at with their training, what their plan is for the next 2 weeks, what they're going to work on, and talk about, things that maybe they didn't do, they said they were going to do the last time, or whatever that is, to make sure we're on track and that we're hearing any problems that they have.
Jake, but let me assume, because I've never done this, and I'm an outsider when it comes to the format and the structure and how this is disciplined, but don't I have a career path in front of me? Don't I have the daily, the lessons? Doesn't my mentor have that? You can see it too, but you're still asking questions of the person to see if they're comfortable, they're on track, they're learning something, and they continue to be engaged.
Yeah, we definitely start to see that as you're working with them every day. If you're teaching the same lesson over and over, you've showed somebody how to do a specific task, and then the next week you have to show them again and again. Well, we realized that, hey, this training method's not working, right? They're not picking it up this way, and we can kind of look for other options for them to help them learn it differently. But also there is a lot of this is making sure that you're finding the right candidates at the beginning. I'm a pretty firm believer that if you find the right candidate and put in all the effort, it's going to work, and vice versa. If you've got the wrong candidate, I'm not sure it matters how much effort and time you put into it. It's probably not going to work, right? So early on, we really have to watch that type of stuff like you're talking about and make sure that this is going to be the right candidate that we want to invest in and that we want to be a technician for us in the future.
Yeah. I so appreciate all the comments that are really stacking up in Facebook. Again, we're out on 4 different Facebook pages, my YouTube and LinkedIn. And thank you so much for being here. We're talking apprentices. Jake, what's the difference in doing this than having a student go out to 2-year school?
So really, I think that's the big reason that we've gone to the apprenticeships. We looked at our industry has not done a good job of creating pathways for technicians, right? The dealership industry, they use apprenticeships and it's worked well for them. So I don't know why independent has stayed away from that. And really, we've offered 2 options. There's the trade school, or there's hope that you can find a shop that's going to help teach you and help bring you along. And hopefully they're going to give you all the right information. And there's a lot of hope in that, right? And it may or may not work out. With the school, the problem that we've run into is when they graduate, they've got a lot of student loan debt. They haven't been investing or buying tools yet. So now they've got student loan payments to make, and they're supposed to buy, tools and have weekly tool payments, which they can't afford. They've also, in the schools, they had 0 hands-on practical experience, or I guess I shouldn't say 0. Some will have some hands-on, but not in shop with, the time crunches or time frames that we have when we're fixing customers' vehicles. It's just a whole different aspect there. And they come into it really expecting top pay. They've gone through school being told that, hey, you can make 6 figures as an auto technician. And while that's true, it's not for the guy, right out of school with no tools, no experience, right? He needs to spend some time in the shop, learn all this, build up that tool collection. And so his pay is not going to be there. So we're taking a guy with low pay or, entry level wages and expecting him to buy a lot of tools and pay student loan debt. And it just hasn't worked out for us. We haven't seen that be a successful plan or path forward. And that's why we've really focused on apprenticeships instead.
Pete, take us back to the day that you and Jake sat down and says, we got to do something.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Carm. One thing that was very eye-opening when we started working with the adult education here, we went on a tour of the high schools and the shop at some of the trades. And I'm not kidding you. It was like walking back into 1978. There were DOS computers. There was paper all over. My son had actually just attended a group tour with his classmates, and they were showing them trades that they could possibly, go into, whether it was construction, being an electrician, and being a technician. That was one of them. And I'll never forget, he came home and he said, Dad, they took us into the shop, and it wasn't clean. It was dirty and it was messy. And I told all my friends that you were a shop owner. And he said, every one of them said, well, I'm not going to do this. This isn't for me. And as we continued to research, we locally met with Lieutenant Governor's office and quite a few of the educators at the local high schools, and asked them why the counselors did not, really talk to people about going down this trade. And a lot of it was naivety. And the other part is they didn't feel that it was a great career path, not knowing what the income opportunities were. So we're dealing with old school, old looking technology. They haven't brought things to current date with tablets and laptops and scopes and the things that they're really utilizing today. And then you have educators that are telling these students that they're going to make $40,000, $50,000 a year after they've been in the trade 5 or 10 years. And that's not real exciting. And so those things all culminated together. And I think that's when Jake and I said, we've got to get involved. We've got to get in our market and try and change some of those perceptions and create a pathway that doesn't have so many barriers. Let's not make it cost prohibitive. Some of our partners, helped out NAPA with a toolbox at the 1-year mark. There's a tool credit at the end of 2 years. And then the last thing I wanted to point out, Carm, that I think Jake did a phenomenal job with, I really think it was the game changer, is there's incentives for these apprentices as they learn and go throughout the program. And those incentives are based usually around the 60-day mark. There's some that can accelerate, some that maybe take a little bit longer, but there's rewards. And as they learn, they earn. And I think, Jake, you've had many phone calls. We go and speak on occasion, and you get a lot of owners or managers that say, well, I'm not going to pay these guys. They don't know anything yet. They should just be glad we're teaching them.
Well, then suffer.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Well,
I said it because you didn't want to.
Yeah, right. But Jake, don't you agree? I mean,
Jake, hold that thought, because I really do want your reaction to that. I want to give a shout out to my two great sponsors, Shop Marketing Pros. When someone searches for a shop, who are they finding? Is it you or your competitor? Well, it should be you. And I know you work hard to make that happen. The good people over at Shop Marketing Pros know how to drive website traffic to make Google and the Google search work for you. Go to shopmarketingpros.com on the web. Thank you, Kim Walker, who I think is hanging out with us here today. Thanks for being here, Kim. Shopware wants you to know that you need to wow your customers. It's all about the customer experience, but you also have to worry about keeping your distance today. Even while staying 6 feet apart, Shopware's innovative technology will help you move cars through safely and efficiently. Completely digital workflow allows customers to review, approve, and pay for repairs all in one place. Request a demo on the web at getshopware.com. So, okay, I said it, Jake. Basically, we're going to give them an award. What do you mean? Why? We're giving them a job. We're giving them a career. People, there's this intrinsic motivation that people just love to have. They get up every day and says, listen, I'm a couple of days or a couple of points away from a monumental change in my life. There's only one way that it happens. You have to make that happen for that person.
Yeah, I mean, you have to incentivize this thing, right? It's great to think that, well, we're offering them this free training, so they should come in and work free every day. Well, I'm sure most of them have rent, they have car payments, they have, cell phone bills, everything that all the rest of us have.
They have a life.
So, yeah, so it's not an option to go work free so that eventually you can be in a career. Right. So we have
Somebody
to.
else go make a technician. Whoa, the coolest ideas is if I had the responsibility to grow this bench into all-star, home run hitters.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, we've seen that with the apprenticeship. We really get the technicians that we want in our shops. We get it early on. They don't have the skills or the training yet. So we're not looking for people that have the exact skills that we need. We're looking for people that have the attitude that we need. Right. And then we get to build those into the technicians that we want and need in our shop.
Mary Ann said counselors haven't had the connections with the trades. They don't know what they don't know. Thanks for being here, Mary Ann. I think you're usually with us every Friday. I appreciate your support. Thank you for this. I don't think we could talk about that whole rewards program enough. And again, it is part and parcel. It's not written in the apprentice document, I'm sure, Pete or Jake, or maybe it's in a side agreement with the apprentice. But I don't know how you could do it without, those steps. I mean, we will pay, some of our shops will pay an incentive for the number of hours that technicians make each and every quarter regarding an hourly pay bump. Why not on the career path of a young man or woman? I love it. Alexia, thanks for being so patient as we're talking shop over here. But what's the role? I mean, how could you help our shops that are listening understand the role of, and I know all states are different, but understand the role of the different departments of labor?
Gosh, I know it can get overwhelming. And I think when people start thinking about setting up programs, just like Pete was explaining, who are all the people? Who do I need to connect with? And I facilitate that. If you don't know what your options are for classroom training, I can help identify some of those opportunities, either locally or online. In addition to bringing your partners together, we do a lot of events, so companies can spread the word about their programs and help educate those school counselors, like we were talking about. They know how to do college, right? That's what their background is in. So they know, they're comfortable getting a student into a college pathway. Well, let's educate them so they know the benefits of taking an apprenticeship route into these trades, which offer phenomenal wages with very little student loan.
I got it. Jake, how do we get the word out to the industry?
I think.
I'm sorry, Jake. I'm sorry. I so apologize for that. I meant to ask that of Pete, but at the end,
good.
Tack into that what he said. Pete, I wanted you to start that off. Jake, you go next.
Well, Carm, I think the way we get it out there is there's a couple aspects. One is shows like this, right? I think we need shop owners to realize there is no silver bullet. I don't believe there's just this easy pathway of, can I just sign up and this takes care of itself? You've really got to engage your time, your efforts, and it's gonna cost and be an investment on the front side. There's no doubt, but the reward's going to be fantastic. The second part of that is we've got to get involved with our community. Visiting these schools and making those phone calls to superintendents or people like Alexia. They're very well connected and they know the people to go through to help us save time. So when we set up those meetings, we can all learn. And I think it's important. We raised a lot of eyebrows when we sat in on these meetings. And I think they were surprised of how good of a profession it can be and how it's evolved and changed, how much more computer knowledge is needed and how much that's being used on vehicles today, and how the pay will continue to accelerate and be beneficial. So we've got to get involved, and it doesn't happen just by flipping a switch. There's a lot of things that need to happen.
Jake, you must be involved in so many different industry technician groups or, on social media. Do you get on your soapbox?
Yeah, I try to as much as possible. And I think the biggest thing is just sharing success stories, right? one thing that I've always kind of struggled with our industry is that there's a lot of negativity, right? A lot of times when we try something and it doesn't work, we're really happy to share that with everybody and show them how things didn't go right. They didn't go well for us. But I think what's more important is us sharing when it does work. And so I think for other shops, if you've run an apprentice, if you've tried this, share it in your meetings, if you're in a 20 group, or if you're in a BDG or whatever it might be, share it with those other shop owners, because I think you'll be surprised to see most of them are struggling with the same staffing issue, and they're willing to try something like this if they know somebody that's had success.
Mm-hmm. Hey, thanks for somebody hanging out. Dean Law makes such a great point about us being a grease monkey type job in our industry, and that we have the big hurdle to get it up and out. And my friend John Gustafson says that the program called the Auto Talent Co-op is to bring all the great ideas currently in silos together to benefit our profession. Guys, here's my question. I'm sitting in the sidelines. I know I need to do this, and I want to be a player. Two things. How do I start, and where do I get this course outline to know what this looks like at the other end?
Jake, I'll let you go ahead and start with that.
Well, I think really trying to find a group to help you, right? And so, as we talked about a little bit here, we've worked with NAPA on this. NAPA is offering this program to all auto cares. So that's a great option. I know there's other options out there, but try and find a plan or a path that's already kind of there for you, and then build it into what you want. One thing I'd point out with the NAPA program specifically is you really have to look at it like a piece of shop equipment, that you buy. It doesn't just start generating profit for you, right? Then you have to learn how to use it. Another way to look at it's like a recipe. You still have to get the ingredients and you still have to go through the process, but NAPA is giving you a recipe and saying, if you find the right applicant and you follow these steps and you put in the effort, you're going to get the end product that you want. So I would really urge people to get into a group or to find a program like the NAPA program, so that you don't have to start from ground one. You're probably already too busy and trying to find techs. You don't need to build this whole thing.
Any comment on that, Pete?
That was well said, Jake. I know as we've learned a couple of things that Jake was very involved with, was trying to create content that was available even off hours, right? I mean, we're all limited on time during the day. We're busy, we're teaching, but there was also a video platform that the apprentice could go back and reference as they work through each one of the stages. So there is some time that's required by the apprentice offline, right? Not just in the shop, but there were reference points as they continue to learn that were built upon to help with this program. Because, I'm the lucky guy. NAPA makes fun and says, not everybody has a Jake. You're right. I'm pretty lucky I've got a Jake. I've got somebody that appreciates and respects the challenges in the trade and wants to share his knowledge and help cultivate people in the industry. And, since we started this program, I think it's interesting, Carm, we're up to 63 ASEs between both locations. Now, that was not contagious until we started this program. So it's helped really cultivate excitement with other technicians that had been in the trade for a while to realize the importance of learning. And guess what? There's people now that are excited and intrigued about what's going on.
Okay. Help me get a little granular here. So here's the big 3-ring binder, the Apprentice book, Jake, Pete. In it, does it tell, are there courses? Are there links to live and online training? What points you want me to turn some wrenches, learn how to do a brake job, but I'm going to go out and get some theory somewhere. How do you blend that together?
Well, that's kind of the big part of this program, is that we use all those different categories. So the program's broken up into 9 stages over 2 years. And in each stage, there's a few things you have to do. There's obviously, most important, the hands-on training, working with a mentor in the bay, fixing cars. But second part is instructor-led training of some sort. Now, some of that is going to an actual training class, or right now, virtual training class. There's also having, the reps that sell the the fluid exchange equipment or flushes coming in and showing you how to use that equipment and learning from them directly. There's all sorts of different hands-on type training or classroom-led training there. And then a big section of it is the online training. And that's where they're going to go on and watch videos, or some of it's interactive where, it'll ask the different parts of an engine, for example, and they have to, move the different parts into position and learn what they are there. And then the big part of this program is at the end of each of those stages, there's what's called a competency section, and it's a competency-based program. So we can't have a student that just wants to fly through the online training, go to the classes and not really pay attention or learn anything, but get their certificate at the end. They have to, at the end of every stage, show their mentor that they've learned what it is they're supposed to learn in that stage and that they can actually do those tasks. And so we're really making sure that we're getting somebody that's taking in that knowledge and learning it and can perform those tasks that you need in your shop.
Jake, is there a learning management system attached to this?
Yeah, so it's directly linked to NAPA's learning management system. You can log in, they track everything. They keep track of the classes that the apprentice has gone to. They assign the classes that they need to take. So it's all laid out and set up. They also have a workbook you can print off that has instructions for both the apprentice and for the manager to read through how everything works. And, I would suggest they do that, download that workbook.
I'm not starting this if I'm a single shop owner on my own. I mean, I just cannot do this and do justice, whatever I'm going to invest, to be sure that my return on investment at the other end works. It seems to me that, and I don't believe NAPA has the only one in the industry, but there are others. But the nice thing about it is that you guys did you do this completely on your own, or did you end up working in partnership with NAPA to build this?
Well, we built it on our own, like Pete said, out of necessity. And
Pete, did he ever turn any wrenches for 2 years while he was making this?
Oh no, Carm. No, I brought all the pieces together. I asked the right questions. No, that's for Jake. But in all honesty, some of the things that were challenging were we noticed our quality of work improved. And that's because we were teaching the things that a shop owner wants to make sure are done correctly. Right, Jake? I mean, now we're doing digital inspections and digital communication, and the resources the technicians have to access to work on cars. They're changing rapidly, and we want people to be able to learn correctly. So when Jake assembled this, we shared what I knew was important on the front end and what the shop owner wants to see, how it's going to benefit efficiencies and productivity, and then how those all intertwine with the service advisors. And so there was a lot of overlapping that we did to complement each other that I really think helped make it what it is today.
Hey, Alexia, jump in anytime, even though we're talking shop down here, okay? Please.
Great. Yeah. No, I was just thinking that's really all the stuff that Pete and Jake are talking about are really what makes apprenticeship effective, right? Because you're not learning all this stuff and now a year later applying it. You're learning it and you're applying it. And not only that, now I'm being trained how my employer wants me to be trained. I know what they expect from me. I mean, I've got a mentor, that's what keeps people in jobs. It's just a beautiful, it's something you could talk about in theory, but to see it play out, it's perfect.
Thanks for that. By the way, there's a comment from Bob Grove. Will this be available for after hours? I don't have time during the day to watch this. Yes, absolutely. You can watch it on all of my different Facebook pages, the Aftermarket Weekly, the CARM, the Remarkable Results, and this entire episode, video and audio, gets repurposed next Thursday. And every Town Hall Academy we've ever done is resident up in my on my website, and or probably is in audio form on your favorite podcast listening app. This is one of those shows where you don't have to watch the video, but it's kind of cool to see the interaction. Jake, I couldn't help but think, as you were explaining a few things to me, that this kind of reminds me of a residency for a doctor in an emergency room at a hospital. And he's doing those 12-hour days learning on the job, facing every challenge that he has. But at the same time, he has to get through so many shifts in so many different departments in order to get his doctorate at the end. We constantly compare the healthcare industry to ours, and I found another one, another connection. It's like a residency.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example. And, kind of on the same topic that Alexia just mentioned, you're learning it, in the classroom setting or the online training, and then hands-on at the same time. When we've had techs in the past that have gone to trade school, I can't tell you how many times I've heard them say, "Can you come show me how to do this? I mean, we learned about it in school, but I don't really remember, and I've never done it." And so I think it's so important to have both together at the same time, learning while you're doing it as well. And, there's a lot of checks and balances that have to take place here. Any technician's going to have a few things that maybe he doesn't do 100% correctly, right? And with the online training or the classroom training, hopefully that apprentice is going to learn the right way as well. And they can start to see, okay, there might be another way around doing this, or maybe I should be looking at that. But I think what's really important here, and, I love the analogy of the doctors because I hear it all the time, but our industry needs certifications, right? I'm going to take this soapbox.
Can you stop for a minute? For a minute?
I was so
because
excited.
I want you to talk about that. I want to give you your voice, your
okay.
To end the topic here, because I know you'll go on for 20 minutes. And I just wanted to give another shout out to our sponsors. Do you know what's as easy as 1, 2, 3? Yeah, Shopware's management system allows customers to review, approve, and pay. That's 1, 2, 3 for repairs all in one place. Keep your staff and your customers safe while maintaining profits and keeping your customers happy. Learn more at getshopware.com. And to Kim Walker at Shop Marketing Pros, your customers want you to do what you say you're going to do. It should be the same with your marketing company. Shop Marketing Pros listens, cares, responds quickly, and does what they say they'll do. And I know that for a fact. ShopMarketingPros.com on the web. I actually check-marked the ASE certification thing, and I wrote down last, and I wanted Jake to put a nice bow on that. And I am ready to hear your passion about ASE.
So this is something that I'm passionate about. I've heard from plenty of technicians and even shop owners how, they've met a lot of really good technicians that just weren't good at taking tests, so they're not ASE certified, and they've met plenty of technicians that have all their certifications and they're not any good. They don't know what they're doing. And I'm not going to say that doesn't happen or it's not true, but I've definitely seen it the other way, far more often. And what I think is going to help us as an industry to find more apprentices, to build more technicians, is to really start to put a focus on certifications. We need shop owners to step up and say, we'll hire you without certifications, but you need to get them, and your pay is going to be based on that. And we expect that from you. And I think you'll find that generally the technicians that aren't willing to get certifications also have a lot of other excuses as well. And it's a great way to bring up everybody around them. When we do it, we find technicians that said those same things, that they already know it, they don't need the certification. We find that when we require them to go take the certifications, they start doing some online training. They start finding classes to go to. They start trying to learn more to prepare themselves because they are a little worried that they might not pass that test, even though they've told everybody how easy it is. And, the analogy that I always like from the medical profession is that the same people that are always touting that we're so similar to the medical profession, and I agree that we are in a lot of ways, are also saying that maybe certifications aren't important. And I would just ask you this: if you went into your doctor or you had a nurse come to help you and you found out that they didn't have a certification because they were great at what they did, they knew what they need to know, but they're just not very good at taking tests, would you continue to go to that doctor, or would you see that nurse? And I'm thinking the answer is no for everybody. So why is it that we don't expect the same from our professionals? And, one of the comments that I saw earlier was that we need to start calling ourselves professionals. And I couldn't agree more, but to do that, we need to be certified.
Here's to hit Jake's point. I'm having some elective surgery next week. And I got a call this morning from an RN. And she goes, "Hi, this is Brittany, an RN at blankety blank surgical center." I felt really good that I knew who I was talking to at the other end of the phone as she was asking me questions, because she was an RN. Well, you don't become an RN unless you go through all these tests and all this schooling and continue to stay at the top of your craft so that you can continue to be an RN. Wouldn't it be something where the phone rings and it's my technician at the other end? It says, "Hi, this is ASE certified technician Jake Sorensen." Wouldn't that be so cool?
Yeah, I really think it would be. I think our customers will really appreciate that, knowing that there is a certification process, knowing that who they're talking to has been trained properly and knows what they're doing.
Oh man, this was beyond my expectations, Pete, Jake, Alexia. I'll give each of you an opportunity to put a bow on this in your last words. Jake, I'm going to save you to the end because you've been on fire. Not that you haven't, Pete, but believe you me, Jake has helped carry this whole thing for us. Pete, a couple of final words.
Oh, that's the last thing Jake needed to hear, Carm. Now, come on, but I will tell you, I feel very fortunate that Jake feels the way that he does, because we know that's how the industry is going to sustain itself. And I thought it was important to share with the owners out there. You know, we talk about the investment and what does it cost, or are we going to lose money if we do this for a couple of years? And the good news is we've been tracking this now for 4 years. And our last estimate was a full-time apprentice working with a full-time technician. The shop revenue increased $140,000 with that combination. Now, that was the average. That's graduating 3 people. So we're not just taking one experience. That was the average with 3. So for those shop owners or managers that don't believe the investment makes sense, it absolutely does. And it obviously grows exponentially after that. But Jake is to be commended. He takes pride in certificates, the training. He's constantly learning. When he holds his meetings, he's watching after-hour learning segments, and he's part of a lot of groups. And we're glad that there's people like him that want to push this industry the right direction. So you're correct.
Well, thank you so much, Pete. Alexia, you are a critical component here. Although I didn't, you said important things, even though you didn't have that much time on, because our government's an important part of this thing. So thanks for being here. Any final words?
You know, I just feel really passionate that apprenticeship is the way to build your skilled workforce, for all the reasons that Jake and Pete have highlighted. And you know, if other shops are interested, reach out to your local workforce agency, reach out to the Department of Labor, and let them help you get through that process and find out the resources that are available to really support your efforts, and to connect to other resources like Pete and Jake.
Yeah. Jake, I love your passion. You did one hell of a job in the last 4 years of pulling this together and keeping it going and monitoring it and flushing everything out and getting the ROIs back for Pete. One of the things that you said earlier, help others. I mean, have you reached out? Has anyone picked up the phone and says, "Hey, I've started this thing, Jake, I'm stumbling"? Have you been a resource for people? And I'm also going to give you the last word, but I do have that question.
Yeah, we've definitely had shop owners reach out to us, and I've really tried to make a commitment. And luckily, I have a shop owner that I work for that allows me to, but I've tried to make a commitment that I'll help out as much as I can there. And we've had shop owners that have asked us for help that we've, early on, we let them join into our program before there was a national program for them. They'll call and ask, how do I sign up on this? Where's a training class for this topic? And we've had a mixed bag of success out there. There's some that have said, hey, this thing's just not for me. I don't have the time. I can't find the right candidates. It's just not working well. And we've also had others that, one example is a shop just north of us, not too far away. He started on pretty early with an apprentice, and he called me about 3 weeks ago, I want to say, and told me that it worked so well. They're starting their next apprentice right now, and he's getting him signed up. And I think he said he was going to be watching this show because he's had a lot of success from it, and it's really helped him as well when, they can't find technicians either.
So your final word, how do I start? What do I do?
Well, jump in. Okay. So whether you find a program like the NAPA program, and I would suggest you find something, because there's no need for you to build this from scratch. And most shop owners, most of the technicians you're going to have being involved in this are too busy to do that anyways. There's a lot of investment in doing that. So find a program and start using it. Download the instructions, download the workbook, read through it all, learn how it works. Don't just assume that because you sign up, everything's going to be done for you. There's no do it for you program. You're going to have to put in some investment, but use that roadmap and use the resources that are available to you out there to make your program successful. And reach out to any of the people in your community, like the Alexia Murphys, that can help you and give you the resources that you need. And if you call the wrong place, I'm here to tell you, they'll direct you to the right one. So if you're not sure who it is you're supposed to call, just start calling.
You mean
ask for help.
So the story, "Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help," is real?
Well, yeah, but you got to put it the other way. They're not going to come knocking on your door saying we're here to help.
You've got to go to them. Okay.
You need to call them and they will help you.
So I don't mean this is not your last word, because you know me, I just bubble with these crazy thoughts and ideas. And so I have another one for both you and Pete. Here's my thought. Not everyone's going to work out. I've seen that in some of the comments that we've had. You've said that, but where do you find the candidate?
We ran an ad on the first round when we first started this thing, and we just put together an ad that more or less said, are you looking for a career? We're willing to train. We have pay raises along the way. We'll help with tooling. And my inbox was flooded with applicants. We shut the ad down after, I think it was 3 days, because we couldn't sort through them all. And I started just looking through the experience on most of them. And, most of them have no experience or very little. But we looked for just key things, like if they had been at a job for a significant length of time, even if it has nothing to do with the automotive industry, it proved to us that there's somebody that's going to stick it out. There's somebody that stays around where they're at. They're not always looking for a change. One of the things that stuck out on one of the apprentices that's graduated our program was when we interviewed him, he mentioned that he had been shadowing at a motorcycle shop trying to learn how to fix motorcycles. And I asked him why he didn't put that on his resume. And he said, well, it wasn't paid. And I thought, well, this is perfect. This is who we need. This is a guy that spent his own time going into a shop, watching how things were done, because he wanted that knowledge. He wanted to learn this trade. And, that worked out very well. So try and be creative. Look at different things like that to see how it's going to fit into what it is you're looking for.
I am thrilled that you all decided to come on and do this, because I think we really made a dent in the whole apprentice story, and especially here on the podcast. We've done them in the past with Dwayne Myers and his program out in Maryland, but I think this really helped solidify the why and the how of it. Thank you, Pete McNeil, shop owner, McNeil's Auto Care, the NAPA 2020 Shop Owner of the Year, Sandy, Utah, 2 locations. Pete, thanks for being here and letting Jake do all this work for you.
Hey, thank you. No, thanks for the platform.
Glad to have you, man. Jake Sorensen, technician, the 2019 NAPA ASE Technician of the Year, ASE Master Tech L1, L2, L3 advanced levels, who is a passionate person about ASE certifications. Alexia Murphy, Program Specialist, Department of Workforce Services, State of Utah. Thanks for being here, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Carm.
Thank you.